Ladies and gentlemen, close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You just won millions. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Your bank account reflects it. Your home, your lifestyle, your freedom, they're all real. Can you feel it? Act as if you already won millions. Why? Because life is not waiting to give to the deserving. Life is a mirror, reflecting not what you wish, but what you believe and what you feel to be true. The greatest secret of success isn't luck, hustle, or even timing. It is the inner conviction that what you desire is already yours. Wealth doesn't begin in your wallet. It begins in your imagination. When you walk, walk like someone who has already made it. When you speak, speak from confidence, not lack. When you dream, dream in detail, and then live as if it is already done. You don't manifest millions by chasing them. You manifest them by embodying the version of you who already has them. That version already exists in consciousness, and when you align with that version in feeling, the world bends to meet it. Look, this is not about pretending in the shallow sense. It's about knowing in your bones that reality is shaped not by facts, but by assumptions. Assume your wealth. Feel it. Spend time in it mentally. And trust the outer world will catch up. The key is not hoping for it. Hope is passive. Faith is active. Act as if. Live from the end. Let your confidence, your peace, and your actions speak the truth. I am already wealthy. When you do this, you will not need to force or beg. You will attract. Not by effort, but by vibration, by frequency. And the universe will conspire not to give you what you want, but to reflect who you are being. So I leave you with this question. Who are you being today? The one who waits for millions, or the one who already has them? The answer changes everything. Everything that has ever come into being began first as a thought, a fleeting image, a silent desire held in the unseen realm of imagination. Before the skyscraper rose, there was a blueprint. Before the masterpiece was painted, the artist saw it in the mind's eye. Before any fortune was amassed, someone imagined what it would feel like to be wealthy. Imagination is not mere fantasy or escapism. It is the workshop of creation, the sacred space where reality is first molded and shaped. In imagination, there are no limits, no barriers of logic, no restrictions of circumstance. It is here, in the silent theater of the mind, that you hold the power to construct your ideal life without resistance or judgment. When you imagine vividly, when you engage the senses, embody the emotions, and dwell in the scene as though it were happening now, you are laying down the invisible foundation of what is to come. You are impressing upon the deeper layers of consciousness the image of your desire, and that impression seeks expression. What you persistently imagine begins to feel real, and what feels real begins to shape how you act, how you speak, and how you move through the world. Eventually, life must organize itself to match that dominant inner state. You do not need to ask how it will happen. That is not your domain. The bridge of incidents will unfold naturally, seemingly by coincidence or fate, but it all began in your own mind. To ignore the power of imagination is to live as a passive recipient of the world, constantly reacting to what is instead of creating what could be. But to use imagination deliberately, with conviction and clarity, is to take the reins of your reality and direct it with intention. The moment you choose to dwell in a new imagined reality, you initiate a process that cannot help but move toward expression. Because imagination, when fully accepted, is called to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, is to shift from longing to being. It is not about hoping, wanting, or reaching for something just out of grasp. It is about stepping into the emotional and psychological space where what you desire is already yours. In this state, you no longer see your wish as something separate from you, but as something that is already unfolding within you. The gap between you and your desire disappears because you no longer look toward it, you look from it. Feeling is the secret ingredient. is not enough to say the words or visualize the outcome in a cold, detached manner. What moves the unseen forces of life is the emotional acceptance of your desired state as your present reality. It is the same feeling you have after something wonderful happens, the satisfaction, the relief, the joy, but you are called to generate that feeling before the event occurs, not as a reaction, but as a... This act requires inner discipline. The world around you may suggest lack, limitations, or delay, but to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to turn inward and prioritize the unseen over the seen. You let the inner feeling become more real to you than your current circumstances. You carry yourself differently. You speak with certainty. You relax into the confidence that what is imagined and emotionally embraced will take form because it already has, internally. This feeling becomes the atmosphere of your being. It seeps into your thoughts, choices, and behavior. It alters your posture, your presence, your energy. People respond to you differently. Opportunities present themselves, and you find yourself moved by impulses that align perfectly with the life you inwardly accepted. There is no force involved, just alignment. You are no longer chasing something outside of you. You are allowing what matches your state to gravitate toward you. Assuming the feeling is not pretending, it is claiming. It is embodying a new version of yourself without evidence, without proof, because the feeling itself is the evidence in seed form. The moment you feel that it is done, a shift occurs within the structure of your reality. The outer world may not rearrange instantly, but it begins to reflect the inner transformation you've already made. The world around you is not fixed. It is pliable, responsive, and reflective. It echoes back the dominant state of your inner world, not your passing thoughts or surface-level affirmations, but the deep-seated convictions you carry within. What you truly believe, what you deeply accept as possible or inevitable, molds your reality in ways that logic alone cannot explain. Your inner conviction is the silent architect of your circumstances. Conviction is not loud. It does not need to announce itself. It lives quietly in the background, but it exerts tremendous power. It influences how you interpret events, how you react to challenges, and how you position yourself in every situation. When you hold an unshakable belief about who you are and what is yours, life begins to organize itself to affirm that belief. This is not about willpower or effort. It's about a shift in identity. When you know within yourself that you are wealthy, loved, successful, or healthy, you emit a frequency that draws experiences consistent with that state. People, opportunities, and coincidences appear not as accidents, but as reflections of the truth you have accepted within. Your conviction becomes the command your world obeys. Doubt is what delays manifestation. Wavering between belief and disbelief sends mixed signals. But when your conviction is pure, when you accept your desired reality as real even before any evidence appears, you create momentum. You are no longer seeking proof because you've already decided. That inner decision generates clarity, and with clarity comes alignment. You begin to act in ways that match your assumption, speak from a place of knowing, and attract support that mirrors your... This is not about forcing life into submission. It's about becoming so aligned with a new reality internally that the external has no choice but to comply. What you are convinced of, deeply, emotionally, and persistently, must find its way into form because it already lives in the only place that truly matters, your consciousness. There is no power outside of you that determines your fate. No circumstance, no other person, no condition has authority over the reality you experience unless you grant it. You are not at the mercy of the world. You are the source of the world as you know it. You are the operant power, the creative force behind every event, every pattern, and every breakthrough in your life. To recognize yourself as the operant power is to accept full responsibility, not blame, but power. It means you no longer wait for permission, no longer depend on external validation, and no longer assign creative control to luck, timing, or fate. You realize that reality moves according to the direction of your focus and the assumptions you consistently hold to be true. What you believe about yourself and the world is not just a perspective. It is a command issued to the unseen forces that shape your experiences. This truth doesn't require belief in anything mystical. It simply requires attention to your inner world. What are you consistently imagining? What states are you inhabiting emotionally? What stories are you telling yourself day after day? These internal patterns are not harmless. They are scripts. And life, being the operant power, means you have the right, the ability, and the authority to change your inner state at will. You are not stuck. You are not bound by past outcomes or inherited limitations. The moment you assume a new state of being and persist in it, the world begins to reflect it. Your assumption does not need approval. It does not need external evidence. It only needs to be sustained long enough to take root. When you fully accept that you are the creative center of your life, you stop negotiating with fear. You stop deferring your dreams. You begin to move through life with a quiet authority, knowing that your inner world sets the tone and the tempo for everything else. Nothing happens to you by accident. Everything is a response, a reflection of the self you are currently embodying. And when that self changes, everything changes with it. To live from the end is to inhabit the state of your fulfilled desire as if it were already fact. It is not a strategy of future planning, but a shift in identity and perspective. Rather than striving to reach your goal through effort and anticipation, you assume the position of already being the person who has what they want. You feel from the outcome, not toward it. You look back at your desire as something completed, not ahead to it as something pending. When you live toward the end, you are constantly measuring distance, how far you still need to go, what you lack, what hasn't happened yet. This focus on absence creates tension, and tension perpetuates more delay. But when you live from the end, you bypass that tension. You think, feel, and act as if the destination has already been reached. You no longer hope, it's done. You no longer chase, you receive. This is not imagination for entertainment's sake. It is creation. To dwell in the end means you begin to adopt the behaviors, emotions, and mindset of your future self now. You walk differently. You speak with more certainty. You react from a place of fulfillment, not lack. You align every part of your being with the reality you've accepted inwardly, and in doing so, you create a powerful magnetic field that draws matching experiences to you. This shift is subtle but profound. Instead of affirming, I will be rich, you begin to feel and know, I am already rich. Instead of saying, one day I'll find love, you carry yourself as someone already loved, already chosen. This change in self-concept is what moves mountains. The world outside doesn't need to change first. You do. And when you do, the world must mirror that shift. Living from the end means refusing to entertain any thought, feeling, or behavior that contradicts your desired state. It requires discipline, not in controlling the world, but in maintaining your inner alignment. You become unwavering in your assumption that the end is real, that it exists now, and that it is unfolding perfectly. And as you persist in that inner knowing, the outer world slowly bends to catch up. Gratitude and certainty are not just emotional states. They are powerful creative forces that shape the trajectory of your life. When you feel genuine gratitude, you are acknowledging the presence of something, not the absence. You are saying, it is here, it is mine, it is done. This attitude of thanksgiving aligns you with the frequency of having rather than wanting, and in that alignment, you draw more of what matches it. Gratitude is a signal to the deeper layers of consciousness that your desire has already been fulfilled. It is not a polite reaction to receiving, it is a magnetic force that precedes receiving. When you give thanks in advance, when you feel the joy and appreciation of already possessing what you desire, You are engaging the creative principle that makes unseen things visible. It's not about begging for results. It's about praising their arrival before they arrive, which ensures their arrival. Certainty, too, is a magnet. It is a calm, unwavering inner knowing that what you have imagined is not only possible, but inevitable. It doesn't ask questions. It doesn't seek proof. Certainty walks with quiet confidence and doesn't need to explain itself. It simply expects. And because it expects, it receives. When these two forces, gratitude and certainty, are combined, they create a powerful state of receptivity. You become aligned not with the frequency of desire, but with the frequency of fulfillment. You act, speak, and move as someone who no longer needs to manifest, but who already has. This inner shift is what creates the outer change. It's not about forcing results, but about becoming a match for them. Gratitude dissolves resistance. It neutralizes doubt. It pulls your attention away from what's missing and anchors it in what is real within. And certainty sustains that vibration. It becomes the anchor in times when nothing seems to be happening, the steady hand that doesn't flinch when outer reality hasn't yet caught up. Together, they form the emotional foundation of all true manifestation. Not hope, not effort, but inner alignment with what already is. So now you see, act as if you already won millions. It's not just a mindset, it's a creative law. You begin with imagination because that is where all reality is first born. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, embodying the emotional certainty that it is already yours. You hold firm in inner conviction, knowing that your world can only reflect what you deeply believe. You accept your role as the operant power, no longer a passive observer, but the conscious creator of your experience. You live from the end, not reaching for your desires, but living within them now. And you maintain a heart full of gratitude and a spirit grounded in certainty, because those are the energies that draw your imagined future into your living present. Let others wait for their miracles. You live yours now. Thank you.